Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to install macOS Ventura on VMware. Now I've made a lot of videos on this before now, but this is a little bit different. We'll be able to run iCloud, iMessage and all other iServices with a unique Mac serial, and everything else should work properly. Now the first thing we have to do is download VMware. So head to your browser and then search for VMware. Now click on the first link that heads to vmware.com. And then up here you should see products. Now click on products and then click on Workstation player under desktop hypervisor, and it should open this page. And now click on download for free. Okay, so we can see VMware Workstation player right here, and by the right we can see go to downloads. So click on go to downloads, and then here we go. This is VMware Workstation player for Linux and this is VMware for Windows. So let's click on download now under Windows and it should start downloading. After downloading VMware, we have to download Auto Unlocker for VMware. Now this software is going to allow us run macOS Ventura on VMware. So you can see the link to Polo projects, so click on it. I'll also provide this link in the video description so you can head directly to this page. Now click on the latest release right here. You can see by the right under releases, and then you should find Unlocker latest version right here, which we are going to download the zip. Next we have to download macOS Ventura ISO file, which we are going to use for the installation. I'll provide this link in the video description so you can download directly yourself. The file size is about 14.6 gigabytes, so you know what to expect. I already have this file downloaded and I would recommend you use an internet download manager if your speed is not that stable. Now after downloading everything, we can close our browser and then open our download folder. So here we go. This is macOS Ventura ISO file. This is VMware player. This is Unlocker, and this right here is smbios, which is a configuration file we're going to use to adjust our VMware settings so we can change the serial of our macOS Ventura machine and also run these on AMD processors. So we're going to get to this later, and I will provide everything here in the video description so you can copy directly from there. But for now, let's ignore this. First, we have to install VMware player by double clicking on it. Okay, so we now have VMware installed. Click on finish and then let's open VMware from our desktop. Now we can create a new virtual machine and then select installer disk image file, browse, and then open our download folder. Specify our macOS Ventura ISO file we downloaded, open, next. Now we're having an issue here. We are only getting an option for Windows, Linux and few other operating systems, but we can't find macOS right here. So this is where we have to run Auto Unlocker. So let's cancel this and then close VMware, head back to our download folder, and then let's extract Unlocker, extract files, open the extracted folder, and then let's run Unlocker. Now make sure download tools is selected and then click on patch. Now this should take a while to download the packages and then patch, but you just have to wait. And the patch has been completed. Now let's click on OK and then close Auto Unlocker. Now let's open VMware again. Create a new virtual machine, select installer disk image file, and then browse for our ISO file in our download folder, macOS Ventura ISO. Let's open that. Next. Now you can see an option for Apple macOS X, which wasn't available here before now. So make sure that is selected and then set the version to macOS 13 since we are installing macOS Ventura, which is version 13. Next. Now you can set a virtual machine name to whatever you want. In my case, I'm just going to set it to macOS Ventura, and this is the location of our macOS machine. So in our last video, Windows asked if it was possible to use a secondary storage for your virtual machine instead of the main drive Windows is running from. Well, yes, this is possible. All you need to do is click on Browse and then specify whichever drive you want your virtual machine to run from. I could select my backup drive right here and then just create a new folder for it. Let's say VM. Okay. And then it is going to install in this folder called VM right here. So you can install it wherever you choose to install it. But I'm just going to leave it at the default location, which is in our documents, virtual machines. Now we can click on next. And then specify the disk size. Now I would recommend anything around 80 gig and above, but I'm going to give it 100 gigabytes. And also note, you can't allocate more than what you have. So if you don't have up to 100 gigabytes of free space, then you won't be able to allocate 100 gigabytes. In my case, I have over 200 gigabytes of free space, so that is totally fine. Next, click on customize hardware. Now the memory right here is your RAM. You shouldn't allocate more than 40% of your RAM to your virtual machine, else it will slow down your host computer. I have 16 gigs of RAM on my PC, so I'm going to give it around 5.7 gigabytes, which should be fine. Next, we go to processors. I'm going to give it 3 cores since I can run up to 8 on my PC. And then we can click on close and then click on finish. Now, before we start our machine, we have to make changes based on our processor. So if you're using an Intel based processor, then you should ignore this step. But if you're using an AMD based processor, then you have to perform this step. Now to find out if your CPU is Intel or AMD, simply hold Ctrl Shift Escape key and it should open Task Manager. Now go to Performance and then click on CPU, and you would see your CPU name right here. In my case, this is Intel Core i5 4th Gen. So if you're using an AMD CPU, then you need to run this command. Let's head back to our download folder, and then we need the smbios file right here. Now paste this in the video description so you can just copy it directly. So if you're using AMD, all you have to do is copy these lines from smc.version, copy, and then head to the folder where your virtual machine is running from. In my case, this is it, and you should find a file with type VMware virtual machine configuration, which is a configuration file. Right click and then open with Notepad. Scroll to the end of the file and add a new line. Paste everything we copied right there. Now this is going to allow us run macOS Ventura virtual machine on our AMD processor. But if you're using an Intel based processor just like me, then you don't need this. So I'm just going to remove that since I'm using an Intel based processor. Don't forget to save if you make any change to this. Close this for now, close, and then let's run our machine by clicking on play virtual machine. Now select the language for the installation, continue. Next, we have to erase the disk before we install macOS, so let's go to disk utility, continue. And then up here you should see VMware virtual SATA hard disk. Click on it, and then you should see the size based on whatever size you are allocated. Now let's click on erase, and then we can give it whatever name we want. I'm just going to call this macOS 13, and then make sure the format is set to APFS, and then erase. Now we are setting our drive to a format macOS understands. Click on done. Let's close this window. Click on install macOS 13, continue. Click on continue again. Agree to the terms. Agree. Now select our drive we erased just now. Continue. And it should start installing. The installation may take around an hour or less. It all depends on your PC specs and how much resources are allocated to your virtual machine. it may restart severally while installing, so let's wait for it to run. And we are done with the installation. Now let's set up based on our personal preference. Now if you notice, you can see that this is a little bit slow, and this is because the graphics memory is extremely low. After this setup, we'll increase that. Now skip the Apple sign in for now, so let's click on setup later. Now enter the details you're going to use to access your machine. Here you can choose between the light mode and the dark mode. You can change this later on in your settings, but I'm just going to go with the light mode. And we've successfully installed macOS Ventura on VMware. Now let's go to about this Mac. And you can see that the graphics is set to 3 megabytes, which is making it extremely slow. And the serial number is also a random serial number, not a correct Mac serial. So we have to work on this. Now let's close this. First, eject macOS installation file on the desktop. Now click on Player, Manage, and then install VMware Tools. Install, continue, install. Enter your password to confirm. OK. And you can see we are having an issue, system extension blocked. This is due to Apple security settings, so we're going to click on Open Security Preferences, and it should open System Settings. Now scroll down to Privacy and Security, and then scroll down. You can see right here, System Software from Developer VMware was blocked. Now allow, and then enter your password to confirm, and we should be able to run our program. Now you can see a restart is required before the extension can be used, so we're going to click on Restart. Log in with your password. Now we can check about this Mac. And you can see the graphics is now set to 128 megabytes, which is way better than before. And our machine is performing a lot more better. Now we still have to change the serial number of our machine to match the serial of an actual Mac machine, so we can sign into our iCloud, iMessage, and every other iService. Head to your Safari browser, and then let's search for Clover Configurator, and then click on the link that heads to Mackie 100 projects, and then download Clover Configurator by clicking on the download. Allow. Let's open this in full screen. Now let's close Safari browser, and then open Clover Configurator from our download folder. Let's run it. OK. Now let's head back to our system settings, privacy and security again, and then scroll down, and then you should find Clover Configurator, and then open anyway. Enter your password to confirm, and then open. So this is Clover Configurator. Now click on SMBIOS right here, and you can see this small icon by the side here. Click on it, and then select iMac Pro 1,1. So this is the machine we are trying to replicate. So we should find iMac Pro 1,1 somewhere around here. Selected. So the product model is iMac Pro 1,1. Now let's head back to our notepad to grab our file. Okay, so this is our file which we were making use of earlier. Now we need the board ID, we need the serial number, we need ROM, and we need MLB. So let's start with the board ID. So the board ID is right here. Let's copy that. and then replace the hash, paste it there. Next, we need the serial number, but we are not just going to copy the serial number right here. Click on generate new, and then we can copy this, replace as well. Next, we need ROM and then MLB. So let's head to ROT variables and then generate ROM. Copy the generated ROM. And also copy MLB right here. And we are done with Clover configurator. Now we can close this, delete, and then shut down our macOS machine. Shut down. Okay, so now let's head to the location where our macOS Ventura is running from. In my case, it is in my documents, virtual machines, and you can see right here, this is my macOS Ventura, and we have to open the configuration file again, and this is my macOS virtual machine configuration file. So let's right click and then open with Notepad. Here we go. Now we have to make few changes. First, we have to search for firmware. Down. You should see firmware somewhere around here equal to EFI. Let's move to the next line and then paste everything we modified up here from our smbios. Copy, paste it there. Next, we have to search for Ethernet, and you should see Ethernet connection type set to NAT, and then address type set to generated. Now change the address type from generated to static. Find next under Ethernet, next, and you should see Ethernet.0 generated address equal to and whatever is there. So change generated address to just address, so remove generated, and then for the value of the generated address we have to use a valid MAC address, and here are example of a few. We're going to change the first three values, set it to any of these values right here. In my case, I'm going to set it to 000393. So let's do that. 0393, and then next we're going to set the Ethernet 0.generated address offset to Ethernet 0.check MAC address, and then set the value from 0 to false, and then we can save this, Ctrl S, and then close our configuration file, close everything else, open VMware, click on your machine. Before we start our machine, we have to disconnect the ISO file, so edit virtual machine settings, go to CD/DVD, and then disconnect at power on. So let's untick this and then click on OK, and then play virtual machine. Log in with your password. Now we can go to about this Mac, and you can see the serial has been changed to a unique Mac serial, and we can now log into our iCloud and use all iServices. So basically, this is how to install macOS Ventura on VMware. If this video was helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notification. If you have any question, don't forget to drop it in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.